Hello and welcome to the YouTube character profile upload for Michael Rodwell. Now this is one of our favourite characters of the last decade on Coronation Street, isn't it?
Yeah.
And sadly someone who was only in the show just a little amount of time. And I always like it when an actor gets cast or a character comes into the show who I'm not really sure about whether I'm going to like them or not, because I mean we knew Les Dennis from his game show presenting days, but I mean he completely changed my opinion, and I was so happy with this character, the way that they took him, and just dead impressed with him, and the fact that he was caught up in the Pat Phelan story, which was one of our favourites in the past decade as well, only heightened my love for Michael Rodwell. He's also got an excellent first name, I have to say. Now, this character profile was originally done about 3 months before Michael left the show, before Les Dennis left the show in 2016. In fact, I think his departure was announced about 3 days after this podcast came out, so we weren't expecting him to go. And what you're about to listen to is us talking about how much we love him, how much we hope he's going to stay in the show, how much we have got high hopes for a future for Gail. But fear not, we will come back after the recording, catch you up with what happened to him at the end, and just kind of tie a nice little bow in it. Correct?
Yeah.
I think I said it all there. This is the all Michael episode, I think. All about Michael, all by Michael. No, I'm going to let you say something as well. Anyway, here comes the character profile. Enjoy. Alright, so it is character profile time, and this week is Michael Rodwell. He's been in the show a couple of years now, and around about enough time to do a profile on him, I think. So, born on the 13th of September 1955. We know his dad was called Keith. There's no...
Fine name for a man.
There's no mum name on Coripedia. He married Susan Meldrum at some point in the past, and last year became one of the many husbands of Gail McIntyre. He's got...
Rodwell and Meldrum. Sounds like some kind of crazy sitcom from the 60s.
It sounds... Yeah, Meldrum is a bit of Meldrum in it. He's got one child... Well, he's got one imposter and one child, Gavin Rodwell.
Wow.
That's an issue in itself. And he first appeared on Coronation Street on 24th of March 2014. So far, he's been in 215 episodes, and he is played by Les Dennis of
Le Dennis.
Les Dennis of Family Fortunes fame, and other things. I mean, what else was he was a stand-up comedian, wasn't he?
Les Dennis was in Titanic.
No, he wasn't. Stop.
He was
They're going to go on all night if you're doing your silly stories again.
Oh, fine. I won't try to make people laugh anymore.
He did stand-up comedy, especially...
I'm not as funny as Le Dennis.
He did his Mavis impression, didn't he? I don't really know. Don't come back over here. Gemma's gone to sleep now. No, she's not. And I've stopped her doing her funny things.
Go on, carry on. You don't need me ruining it.
I do. Now, he was well known for his Family Fortunes hosting, but he had done a few other bits of acting in dramas before Corrie, hadn't he? We hadn't seen any of it, but I remember seeing trailers of him in these gritty dramas and thinking, there's Dennis can't act. What's he doing? He's a game show host. And I think I was probably a little bit nervous about him coming into Coronation Street. We must have had like some kind of reaction when we heard that he was on and recorded it on the podcast. I don't remember what we thought.
But we're not professional enough to look into what we said about it.
No, I can't be bothered. But yeah, he's blown me away, really. I really, really like the character of Michael, and I'm glad that they took the risk of choosing somebody or hiring somebody who was well known for not acting, and he's
even though
done a very good job
doing an amazing job, he still gets harassed regularly on Twitter.
He does. I feel so sorry for him. He's looking at his Twitter feed. All the time he's having to kind of respond to people. He sometimes retweets them just for a laugh, doesn't he? But
I couldn't cope with it.
I know, lots of criticism coming his way. Mostly, I think, from people that don't even watch the show. Like, so, I switched on Corrie and Les Dennis was there. What's he doing? He's like, that's such an idiot, because he's really, really good. Anyway, I remember the moments that we found out that he was going to be in Coronation Street, because his original character name was Michael Rogers. And I know somebody called Michael Rogers, and I thought it was great that there'd be someone that I know, and I sent a message to his dad saying there's going to be somebody called Michael Rogers who's going to be a petty criminal. But it was the 23rd of January 2014 that all this happened, and The press release from ITV said that he would be caught up in the lies of one of Weatherfield's families. No, I'll say that again. He will be caught up in the lives of one Weatherfield family after breaking into their home. And Les Dennis said that he was thrilled to be joining the cast of Coronation Street. It's always been my favourite television programme, mixing high drama with some of the best comedy on screen. I've loved it since the beginning. I grew up watching all the amazing characters in the show, and I now not only have the chance of meeting them, but also working with them. It doesn't get better than that. I think that's probably true.
Yeah, I'm sure that's right.
So, let's have a look at the history of Michael Rodwell so far, the last 2 years. Gemma, what do we know about his past?
Well, we know that he was a businessman and he sort of had everything sorted out in his life. But then, the recession. So, I kind of think this must be David Cameron's fault. Is that why he resigned?
Yeah, probably. He doesn't care anymore.
So, who's in charge now?
Theresa May.
Theresa May will help him out probably, because the recession left him with no job, and then he lost his wife and his son and his house.
I like how they mentioned the recession on the on Coronation Street. It's like made silly. It feel real worldy. Because I don't know whether the recession particularly hit Weatherfield at the time, but it was nice to think that it actually was going on.
Okay.
What do you think?
I just thought it was just a word they threw in.
That's weird.
I don't know. It just does. I don't know how many people really go around saying they lost their job because of the recession.
I've got no idea. I don't know anyone.
I think he should have blamed immigrants, because that would have been more realistic.
Gemma, tell us about what he has done. What's he done in 2014?
Well, in 2014 he was credited as Intruder in his first appearance, but we knew.
He's Michael Rogers. I don't know when Rogers turned into Rodwell, but anyway.
I don't know why they changed it.
No, that's what I was saying. I've got no idea. But they do that sometimes, don't they? We find out from other characters about how they had their names changed. It's just like do they realise there's already a character somewhere called that? Anyway, yeah,
well,
he was Intruder.
Number 8, and Gail and Max catch him, and he says, "Oh, I was checking on a gas leak," but then he runs away and is chased by Kylie, who's now dead.
Yeah, chased down the streets where she would see her
and
final.
And that's how you know we've recorded this in order. Then he gets arrested. He gets called by the police and arrested, sentenced, and he gets 12 months in prison.
Although he only stays there for a few, doesn't he? Now, this was the restorative justice storyline, which is a bit of an issue storyline. But I found it really interesting finding out about how people would go into prisons, try and get to the bottom of why they made those life choices and whatever. And seeing Gail going and speak to him, I thought that those two serious scenes there those serious scenes between the two of them, were really well done, and there was a spark between them, wasn't there?
Yeah,
they had chemistry. It wasn't necessarily romantic, but
no, I think she could see what he would have been like if he hadn't been in this horrible situation.
Yeah, she could see the good in him straight away, and she was just relieved to have been speaking to him, because she'd been getting paranoid about the safety of the home, and she, a bit like Sarah was with Callum, I suppose, recently. And if only Sarah can meet Callum on the restorative justice programme or whatever it is for dead people, maybe she'd be dating his corpse right now.
Beetlejuice.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah. So anyway, before long, all Michael has to do is shake Gail's hand and say he's sorry, and then let him out of jail. It seems pretty easy, to be honest.
Well, they've got no room in there.
No, not for just petty criminals like him. And he's shown regret for his actions. He gets out and gets a job at Garden Centre. In the meantime, though, before he gets out, David and Kylie had been sending love letters to Gail, signed by Michael. No, sorry, to Michael, signed by Gail, that's right. And when he gets out, he shows up on their doorstep saying, "Oh, Gail, I thought I felt something. I didn't realise that you felt it too." And it's all a bit embarrassing for him. And this is when... the scene in the prison as well. Earlier on, the programme really lays it on thick with how we're supposed to feel sympathy for Michael, aren't we? And he's just a bit of a sad loser who bad things have happened to. Mm-hmm. And I've completely fell for it. I've always fought Michael's side, and I think these scenes at the beginning where he was just like being made a laughing stock by David and Kylie was It made me feel bad for him.
Makes you feel bad because it's so easy to make him a laughing stock and humiliate him. It's like kicking a dog.
Well, yeah, it's like when he's been up against Phelan recently, and he's like not stood a chance really.
Yeah.
Remember when he had his I can't remember when it was. It was last year when he had his... No, sorry, it was only this year. He had his crutches and he was like waving his crutches at Phelan, and Phelan was just like grabbing hold of them and thinking, you pathetic little man.
Yeah.
But this pathetic little man, I think, has been absolutely perfect for Gail, and they gradually start to fall in love. And they like, do you remember when they were like watching the lovey-dovey movie together and everything? It's been very, very sweet.
He gets a job at the garden centre, but David and Kylie see him there and they make a fuss because they don't like him at all because he broke into their house, basically.
Yeah, he thinks that... David thinks he's no good for his mum.
So Gail then gets him a job at Streetcars, where he's worked ever since.
Yeah, he almost doesn't make it, though, because David and Nick go round his house the day before he's supposed to start there and intimidate him and say, look, you stay away
Leave
from my family.
mum alone.
So he doesn't turn up, and then Gail has to go and find him and brings him back, and everything's okay.
I love you, I'm lovely, I've got lovely hair.
He also does a bit of moonlighting as an ice cream salesman. I can't remember where that came from.
I don't
You've got to
think you
get
can
it from
moonlight as an ice cream salesman.
not many children around, I suppose, are
No.
there? He borrows it off a friend or something, and that just kind of adds to his like family friendly.
I think it just
bit of
added to his... Right, he's a proper character, he's got to have a few weird quirks.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
An ice cream van man is a pretty good one.
yeah, that's a good job to have.
We don't have ice cream vans around here because we live in the old people's section.
Yeah, sadly, old people don't like.
Old people can't eat ice cream because it gives them gout.
Probably. Or something. Gives them brain freeze, and that's fatal among the elderly.
Yeah. So in September, he began to try to look into his long lost family. And then, because he never knew his dad, I don't think. Well, he was estranged from his dad. But then he found out his dad had died 20 years ago of a genetic heart condition that he could end up having as well. And not only that, but he's the same age as his dad when he died.
I love finding out about the backstories of these characters. It's like...
You never think about it until they start talking about it.
It just makes them feel more real and a deeper character, just finding, well, this is what's been going on in your past. And it's like what we don't have for, say, Luke and Steph at the moment, who are aching to have some kind of family history revealed to them, but yet we don't know anything.
It and like going, oh, well, mum and dad are like talking about blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, but there's been nothing. But within the first 6 months of Michael being in it, you kind of know more about what he's like as a character and what his life and history and past has been than you do for some characters that have been in it for twice as long, or even more. But anyway, he's worried at this point that he's going to have acquired this genetic heart condition. In November, he meets up with somebody who he thinks is his son Gavin, but is actually Andy Carver, an imposter.
An imposter?
Yeah, now
fake?
That's how you drop a bombshell on your audience ITV without spoiling it.
Yeah, OQV.
So, by January 2015, Michael and Gail are so loved up that he gets down on one knee and proposes to her. And I think too, it was that was when Sharif was playing the romantic music to the chickens in the background, so it set the mood perfectly. But sadly, Gail didn't take the bait, runs off. No, she kind of stutters around, and then he takes that as a rejection and then runs off. But then, luckily for him, that night, I think she proposes back to him. He accepts, and then promptly has a heart attack. And this has always been the risk for Michael, hasn't it? Like, if they want to kill him, they've got the ultimate get-out card already. It's like, oh, I just have a heart attack. And I've been quite worried sometimes that... Especially, I suppose it was more at the beginning when I didn't know whether they were going to keep him on long term, which I always wanted to. They thought, oh, they could kill him off at any moment with a heart attack, and he's already had like 2 or 3 since then, hasn't he? I think. But anyway, he survives this one. He has some heart surgery.
But it's not like you've only got one heart, so it doesn't matter.
Is he a Time Lord? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's like kidneys.
Yeah, Tracy's alright.
Also, livers regrow, so
hearts are fine. He has heart surgery, maybe needs a bit of helping hand for the doctor with that one. And then he is keen to marry Gail as soon as he can, because he knows how long he's got left. They set a date for March. However, on their wedding day, Gail doesn't turn up because she's been
accosted.
By the real
Gavin.
The real Gavin Rodwell, who was a nasty piece of work. He was only in it for a few weeks.
He's a very
last
unpleasant
year.
young
He
man.
was. He's threatening to blackmail her about what she now knows, and she thinks that knowing the truth could kill Michael, so she keeps it quiet. But luckily, I guess, Gavin dies in a heart attack, in a car crash. Sorry, and it turns out that it was because of heart failure, which Gail also has to keep secret from Michael. So it's just lies upon lies upon lies, really.
It's all lies, all a bunch of lies, because
she also has to lie to his. She has to lie to his ex-wife as well, who wants to visit him, and she's like, no, he's not up for visitors.
Yeah, because she knows that. Well, this poor woman is distraught because their son has died, and she just wants to talk about her memories and stuff and catch up with Michael, but she can't. Well, Gail won't let her, so they end up anyway getting married in April, but Gail does have a bit of a flutter at the altar and nearly runs away.
But it all turns out okay.
It's all fine.
But for a little bit anyway.
Until Michael gets the post, and in it is a photo album of Gavin growing up, and so it's in chronological order of when Gavin. It was so well written and acted. It was a chronological order of Gavin when he was from baby to growing up, and as Michael's flicking through it, he's gradually beginning to realise that the child that is growing up before his eyes is not at all reminiscent of the child that he now thinks is his son. And when he gets to the end, he's obviously realised that Andy is not Gavin.
Yeah.
So he gets really mad and he starts getting angry.
This is when we start to see a bit more of a darker side of Michael, because up until this point,
he goes a bit rogue.
Up until this point, he's like, he wouldn't say boo to a goose, but
now he's practically trying to chop the goose's head off.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to steal its golden eggs.
And I do admit, I don't like the tough guy Michael quite as much as I do the sloppy romantic, but he's not that big a. He's
a really good actor, because when he's being hard man Michael, you know that he's pretending to himself that he's being hard man Michael.
Yeah, he's not supposed to come across as being someone that actually anyone should be scared of.
He's not scary at all. He leaves Gail and he ends up getting into a relationship with Eileen, which is not good at all. And they kind of take it to a very physical place. And he ends up in hospital again after Eileen collapsed onto him.
I don't think she collapsed onto him. I think
they collapse on the sofa and he has a bit of
another heart attack again.
During a snogging session.
Yeah.
And has to go to hospital, and it's very awkward and embarrassing for everybody.
Yeah, but this is when because I think they'd been keeping their relationship secret from then, hadn't they? And then,
by then it's the cat's out of the bag.
Gail finds out, and it's just reignites the long-running feud between Gail and Eileen.
Yeah, love a good feud, don't we?
When you think we've been saying recently about Eileen that she's been a bit of a nasty piece of work, but it's been feeling that's brought out her bad side. I think that she kind of helped bring out the bad side in Michael last year, didn't she?
She did a bit. She's a bit of a nasty influence on people.
Yeah, she is.
As much as I like her,
I do as well. And when you think of Eileen, you don't think.
Instigator.
Yeah, exactly. You don't automatically think she's a horrible character, but actually
she is kind of like a lot of people though. She is kind of like a social chameleon, or like if somebody's going to do something horrible, she'll go along with it. And pretty much most people are like that, because otherwise there would be no such thing as mobs.
Eileen doesn't feel like she has to be nice to everyone all the time.
Yeah, she's not beholden to a moral code or... You know, like she sits there and she's sarcastic and rude to everybody, but because she's got a sort of a good heart underneath it all, and she's not motivated by malice so much as indifference, she's not quite as bad as she could be.
Exactly, yeah, good point.
Yeah. He starts to make up with Andy and Steph, because obviously he felt really deceived by both of them because they were both pretending. They're
kind of best pals now, aren't they?
Well,
he almost thinks of Andy as his son when he's
he has called him son a few times, and obviously that's a sort of general term of endearment for anyone.
Yeah.
But it carries special significance when Michael says it to Andy.
Yeah, and wasn't Andy's dad like a nasty piece
Andy's
of
dad,
work?
Andy and Gavin originally bonded as flatmates when they both began to talk about how their fathers had abandoned them as children, and that's why Andy was so happy to help Gavin.
Yeah,
to steal Gavin's identity.
I'd like to see Andy and Steph get married and have Michael
give her the. Well,
no, actually, it doesn't work like that, does it?
Give
Oh, damn,
Andy away.
Maybe.
Well, he could be the best man.
Yeah,
he would be the best man.
He would be the best man, wouldn't he? That'd be
yeah,
sweet.
there's not really any great position for father of the groom, is there? I think of all the parents, father of the groom is probably the one that nobody gives a crap about.
Maybe he could organise the stag do or something like that.
Something like that.
So 2016 is when Michael's storyline is with Eileen has come to a head, because this is when Phelan's come back into the programme, and he's set his sights on Eileen's house and getting his feet under the table there, and no matter what the cost. So before long, Michael is getting very suspicious of Phelan. He has another heart attack, which Phelan thinks is amazing, and gives him sort of more power and chance to get in there with Eileen. And Michael can see Phelan for what he is, but because he's not the strongest of, he doesn't have the strongest of voices, and so Eileen's just like, no, stop being so suspicious of him, you're dumped. So, and I was glad when that happened, because I didn't think they were right for each other. And almost straight away, Gail's side of her Gail dar goes off, and she's like, whereas Michael, I'm going to go and simper up to him and say, oh, Michael, you're single again. All this time, she's kind of, got lusted after him, or not, that's not the right word, kind of...
Pined over him.
That's the word, yeah. Pined, lusted,
like a little puppy.
She's always kind of wanted
puppy.
To get back with this husband that she was only kind of together with for about a month after they got married, if that. And now she has had the opportunity. Michael went off to Brighton earlier this year for a few months and then came back because he heard all about the latest drama on the cobbles, and now he's reconciled with Gail, and I hope that they stick together.
Me too.
It just seemed a little bit unnecessary in my eyes of him splitting up with Gail. I don't think it particularly... It didn't add enough. It made the Phelan and Eileen stuff a bit more interesting, didn't it? Yeah, and
it gives Phelan another enemy.
It reignited the Gail and Eileen feud. It gave them a chance to have that little fight on the street and everything, but I still don't think it was worth it. You've
got to fill those days with something.
I hope that Michael and Gail build these bridges pretty quickly, and it'll be interesting to see what role Michael has in the Platt fallout from Kylie's death. It almost could have been, they could have had their reconciliation next week when he sees that Gail is distraught and trying to cope with the loss of her daughter-in-law, and Michael kind of gets in there, although I suppose that might have been a little bit seedy.
You don't really go in for the sealing the deal up when the corpse is still fresh in the street.
She's vulnerable, let's get in there. But anyway, he's going to be obviously very much a comforting shoulder for Gail, and I hope we get to see some more serious scenes between them at least. So that is what we've got for Michael so far. Got a few quotes from him, from Les Dennis. He said on his love life, he said, Michael needs someone who is a little more settled and nurturing than Eileen. Eileen doesn't nurture him, but they have that kind of dynamic where they shout at each other and it's exciting.
That's what we have.
Yes, it's very exciting. With Gail, he's totally looked after, and with his condition, that's maybe what he needs.
Yeah, he needs a mumsy wife.
And Gail needs somebody to look after, doesn't she?
Not a fiery wife.
I think it's in David's interests for her to go out with Michael, because she's like you said, she can't cut the apron strings with him, and maybe if she's looking after someone her own age, it's going to be better for them. But yeah, that it was more fiery with Eileen, wasn't it? Certainly, but for me, I didn't enjoy Michael because of the fire. I just liked the kind of the soppiness of it, the romanticism of it. Last year he was talking about, I'm sure he has lots of time, but I've got a quote here about the viewers accepting him or not. Les said, it's been one of those things where I've had to bring an audience round because so many people on Twitter were saying, when are you going to do your Mavis impression in the street? And then, what's he doing there? It's been a slow build, but it seems that audiences are beginning to like Michael. I think they are. I think most of the people who don't like the idea of him being in Coronation Street are people who don't watch Coronation Street or are extremely casual viewers. It seems to me that he's
I don't
kind
see
of
how
well
you can
liked
watch
among the
him for any
fans.
length of time and still be hung up on why is Les Dennis in the show.
Yeah, he's just a game show host.
I mean,
he can't act because he clearly can. I think.
I mean, I don't watch game shows, but it's not like he went from that straight to Corrie.
No.
Right?
He tested the water with, like I said, some
but
of
did
the
he not have a
gritty
big
acting
gap?
jobs. Yeah, I mean, Family Fortunes was like must have been the 90s
what
or
I
so when he
thought.
started doing that. Vernon
It's
Kay
not.
does
It's
it
not
now.
like it's like Ant and Dec suddenly appeared in EastEnders.
Do you?
I think that Gail and Michael are made for each other, and I'm so happy that they managed to find almost straight away the perfect partner for Michael. Well, straight away.
It's really good casting.
But I wish they hadn't circled around like you said. But you know, it adds a bit of drama and a bit of intrigue and stuff.
I just like the romantic relationships, because so many relationships on Corrie start off with just people kind of fancying each other or just the lust or whatever. Like Todd and Billy, for example, who I see no chemistry. They just fancy each other and that's it. We got to see something completely different and, dare I say it, more natural between Gail and Michael, and I appreciated that more. And
I also think it's really fascinating that Michael is a character he hasn't been in it for very long at all, but compare what we know about him and his family life and what's actually happened to him compared to some other characters like Steph.
yeah.
I mean, I feel like his biography has been filled out in the time he's been on the street,
Well,
whereas
to be
Steph's
honest,
would just be stuff happened to other people and I was there.
If you're going to be paired up with any of the people from the Platt household, you're going to fill up your Corriepedia page pretty quickly.
But none of the stuff that happened to him was because he was in the Platt's house.
Yeah,
It was
no, that's
all
true. The whole thing with his son and everything, and the heart attack, that's all him. They had an idea about what they wanted to do with him.
They really did give him a really good start as a character, and I wonder if it was because he was the celebrity that had come to the show.
Yeah, they wanted a good role for him.
Think about Kathy as well. Her actress is also an established name.
They've been two
not
real
as
success
big,
stories.
But like she's a recognisable sort of household name, kind of. Well, she is, and she got given a really good start, whereas some of the other sort of no-name actors, shall we say, it's sink or swim for them.
Yeah, they brought in just to test the waters, and then
It's
maybe
like,
they fill
no one likes you. Sorry.
in their backstory a bit over the course
you're
of
out.
a period of years as and when the need is. But yeah, Michael and Kathy both. They were fully formed characters, I think, in Stuart Blackburn's mind when they came on screen.
So many blank slates on the streets, even now. Like Kate, you know, blank slate. I don't know anything about her.
No, not particularly. And she's...
Zidane, even. There's so many characters that are in it, quite a lot, that you just don't really know anything about.
Yeah.
Whereas I would say Michael's one of the most developed characters that is on the show at the moment.
Very well-rounded, very, very believable. What do you think about the fact that he's always at risk of having a heart attack? Do you think...
I think they forget about that. I think it's a silly idea.
It's never... I don't think it's ever good to have something
ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
I think they're just going to forget about it. Like, they forget about Tracy's until they need it for the plot or to kill him off.
I hope they do. I don't want that to be something they have to fall back on all the time and say...
Oh no, drama! Look, and I didn't
what if he dies because of this? What if he dies of shock because of that? I mean, is he going to keel over when he hears that Kylie's died? Yeah. It's always the risk, isn't it?
I know. That's why I don't like it being used as a plot device, because it's a get out of jail free card for them to say, you know, have characters keep secrets from each other. Normally they have to have a convoluted reason why they didn't tell somebody something, and now Gail can just go, I thought he'd die if I told him.
Yeah, I thought he'd conk out if I told him.
It's a bit melodramatic. I don't know if people genuinely will die if you tell them something they don't like.
Don't want to test it out though, do you? Not in real life. What do you think the future has in store for Michael? Do you think this is it now for him and Gail? Eventually, Gail has surely got to settle down with someone.
She's got to marry. I mean, she's got to stay with Michael.
I really hope she does. I don't want her to keep getting married. It became a joke how many husbands Gail has had, and there's only so far you can push this joke. He seems like he's pretty well suited to her, more than a lot of her other husbands have been.
But on the other hand, if she is going to marry, if he is going to, they are going to break up or not be married anymore, it would be easy for them to just bump him off and add to her body count.
I know. I just don't want him to be another, notch on the bedpost or whatever. The widows have something.
Don't want it. I don't know yet.
Notch on the gravestone. So, what's he doing at the moment on the street? He's working in the cab office. No, he's just the cabbie, isn't he? Mm-hmm. I can't think of any particular storylines of him, but I'd be perfectly happy if he just became a bit of a background character.
Yeah, me too.
But I suppose with the Platts, you can never be a background character.
Maybe. I mean, the Platt family just growing smaller every day.
They're going to have a break for the Platts at some point. Like we said, this storyline started almost 2 years ago, if you want to trace it back to Max's ADHD. And hopefully,
blame the kid.
Hopefully, yeah, it's children's fault, There's got to be room for other characters to breathe, so I can't. It's too late for me to think of any good ideas for Michael's storyline, but I hope he is in it for a very long time.
Ideas.
Hope he is in it for a long time.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Character of the week.
Well done, Michael. And we're back, and little did we know at the time that Michael's story on Coronation Street would be soon cut short. As we said at the beginning, his departure was announced just a couple of days after this. So sad, Gemma.
Well, we were saying, I'm glad if he's just a background character, and I don't mind if he doesn't do anything. And then he got embroiled in plots and
yeah, because
and they also said, he's got this heart condition. I think it's silly and they'll forget all about it, and he'll just end up dying of it.
I think that I thought at the time that it was a bit of a sword of Damocles over the top of him, and I was just waiting for the moment for it to drop and for his life to be cut short, and sadly that's what ended up happening to Michael. Yeah, because he'd been away from the show for a few months before we'd done that recording as well. I think Les Dennis had been doing some stuff on stage, and he just made his return that week. But yeah, it was just play out his final story. So what did he get up to in those final months then? Well, we were excited to find out what was going to happen between him and Gail, whether they'd have some kind of reconciliation, and they did. It was short-lived, but it happened. He moved back into number 8 with her, and he kind of plans to renew his vows with Gail as well. Gail loved the idea. It was all set to be, perfect, happy ending for Michael and Gail. As we know, it didn't turn out that way. Because Michael still got a bit of a bone to pick about Phelan, yeah? How much did Michael and Phelan's paths crossed beforehand?
I don't really think a lot, to be honest. I mean,
there was the whole thing with Eileen, wasn't there? Because of all the crossover there, and we'd had Michael falling down the stairs in the builder's yard, and Phelan just laughing at him. But it was he was like a dog with a bone, was Michael, and he found out about this fake flats developments that he and Vinny were setting up in Calcutta Street, and that proved to be his undoing.
It wasn't like a dog with a bone, it was like a mouse trying to fight an owl.
Nice.
That's what it reminds me of, because he was brave and he tried really hard, but he really was absolutely no match at all for Pat. And it was quite funny, really, because he dispatched so effortlessly and without a thought, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Even though he was a pretty big character, and obviously Les Dennis is a fairly sort of famous face in British culture, and for Pat Phelan to sort of steamroller over this person with like barely noticing. Yeah,
Michael thought that he kind of had it as well, because he at one point overheard Pat talking on the phone about how he was talking to Vinny about how he's going to scam Eileen, he's going to leave her, he's going to take all the money from this flat scam, which were never going to exist. And so Michael starts working with Anna to expose Phelan. I think Anna gets her hands on Phelan's phone after Faye swipes it, and it's got more evidence about this. So Michael's like, right, I'm going to go to the building site at Calcutta Street, see if I can dig around for a bit of dirt on Pat Phelan. He finds a fake passport there. Phelan's fake name,
Alan Frost.
Alan Frost, correct, well done. But then Phelan comes back to the yard, surprises Michael. This isn't the main yard that they have on Victoria Street now. Obviously, this is in Calcutta Street, far away from Coronation Street somewhere. Anyway, Michael does his best. He throws a chair at Pat to try and dispatch him. Sadly, doesn't work for long. He has a bit of he does a bit of a runner, but has a heart attack. There we go.
Oh,
The
dear.
sword of Damocles fell right on top of his bonce.
Is this how
He
Curtis is
collapses.
going to die?
Maybe it is. I don't know. I mean, anywhere
The
near
most
as exciting
exciting
as
thing,
this, yeah. And Phelan, I just love Michael's death is one of the most
Tragic.
It's one of the darkest on Coronation
Yeah.
Street, isn't it?
It feels like something out of Watership Down.
In
I
what
don't
way?
know why. I just kind of really equate this. There's this really kind of primal, animalistic sense I get of like Pat as the feral hunter, the wild beast, and
There are lots of
Michael
animal
as
analogies
some
in
kind
this
of
today.
domesticated sort of little herbivore who's trying his hardest not to get eaten,
Well,
but at the
they're-
end is just prey.
There were, in fact, rabbits mentioned in Michael's death, weren't there? Because he's lying there, croaking it on the floor, and Phelan can't put him out of his misery. He won't, and he talks about, he recounts an incident from his childhood when
Maybe that's
when he
what's-
shot a rabbit with a air
Buried
rifle or
Buried
something.
itself on my psyche.
Yeah, maybe. And Pat says, I couldn't put it out of his misery. I watched him die, and he's like doing the same to Michael. He's just
Yeah.
like there, bleeding out on the... Is he bleeding out? No, he's not. He's a
not.
heart attack, isn't he?
Gasping
Just struggling
like
for
a
breath.
fish on the riverbed.
So many animals. And Phelan's like, yeah, tough luck, mate.
Sorry.
He does a cross of himself, I think,
Yeah.
doesn't he? And I don't think he actually sees the moment that Michael expires. He kind of walks off for a bit, and then because then Gary turns up at the building site, and Michael's trying to call out for him, but he's so weak by this point. Gary can't hear him, and then he's found the next morning by Todd. He goes investigating because I think Eileen knew that Michael was there. She sends Todd out looking for him, and he found his dead body.
Todd goes, gulp.
Todd goes, well, that gives me an idea for a future career.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is it for Michael. His ashes are scattered into a pond by Gail where they were planning, or nearby where they were planning to renew their vows. And she's still Gail Rodwell now, isn't she? So there's still some kind of memory on him, but his time is definitely over. And
Whenever I
sad-
hear somebody
What?
saying renew your vows, I always think renew your vowels, and I imagine somebody going, do you still want it to be A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y? And the person going, yeah, that works with me. What about you? Yep, I think
We've already
these are
said you.
Pretty good.
it's so sad. And it's a bit tragic as well that I don't think Michael has left a massive legacy on Coronation Street. He's never mentioned, he's never thought about, he doesn't go down as a really important character, sadly. But you know what? As long as we're still around, we'll be preaching the good word of Michael Rodwell.
Definitely.
Because I loved him so much.
And I thought Les Dennis was so good on the show.
He was really, really good on the show. The character was really kind. I loved how he was a great adversary. Well, he tried to be a great adversary for Pat Phelan. Fantastic story. He was just what Gail needed after her series of awful fellas.
Yeah, and then he died.
It's just made it so bittersweet. It's so tragic at the end.
Such a tragic death.
Oh, I know, I love him. And he had 248 episodes under his belt.
See, that's barely a ripple, isn't it, in the grand scheme of over 10,000.
I know, not even 250,000 there. But Les has been very, very complimentary about Coronation Street throughout and after his time on the show.
He's a professional.
He is. He said, as a lifelong fan of the show, playing Michael Rodwell in Coronation Street has been a dream come true. Becoming part of the ITV Coronation Street family has been a wonderful experience, and my decision to leave was a hard one. Earlier this year, thanks to Coronation Street giving me sabbatical from the show, this is when he announced he was going to leave, by the way, I was thrilled to be able to produce and star in a sellout production of Alan Bleasdale's Down in the Dock Road at the Royal Court, Liverpool. I always knew that the time would come when I'd want the freedom to do more projects, and now feels like the right time. The talented team of writers and producers have come up with a very dramatic exit for Michael on the show, which will be exciting to film. I'll treasure the 2.5 years I've been part of such an iconic show and move on with very fond memories, so many lovely friends and colleagues, and an ambition achieved. I think I read at the time that he didn't want to be killed off necessarily and had the door left open for him, but as tragic as his exit was, he had a good one, didn't he? He had a good exit.
Yeah,
it was
really
memorable.
One of the best.
I think
recent years.
we were away. I think that's when we were away in sort of East Anglia way with some friends. Because we weren't at home when we watched it, I don't think, or we didn't watch it live and we came home to watch it. So I've got very strong memories of that on that cold wintry night.
Oh gosh, cold.
Yeah, we could do with some of that now, don't we? After his exit, he's given loads of interviews to the press since, but one of the quotes I picked out with him was, "At least I'm not going to die in an armchair. I'm not going to go off in a taxi. It's an amazing finish, and to be working with Connor, the villain that all the viewers love to hate, is incredible. Everyone keeps going up to me in the supermarket saying, 'When are you going to get that feeling?' Well, I've got a feeling he's going to get me."
Brilliant.
When it gets old.
Now, he ended up acting alongside Conor McIntyre, and they both were ugly sisters in a Christmas production, Panto.
Yeah, it was a Cinderella, wasn't it?
In Manchester.
I think they did it twice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did.
And I believe...
Didn't they win an award?
I was going to say they won an award for the Best Ugly Sisters or something.
They were great. They were
Best
really
partnership
great.
or something. They were so good. They had brilliant chemistry, those two, and it was funny seeing them in the pantomime because they had Coronation Street references all the way through it, didn't they? I think the many people in the audience that hadn't seen them on Coronation Street probably didn't have a clue what they were going on about, but I appreciated it.
Really great.
It'd be nice to think that they were together again some point in the future.
Yeah.
Anyway, so too, that is it for Michael Rodwell. Can't speak highly enough of the character. Real kind of shining light for new characters, in my opinion, of the 2010s in Coronation Street. Good job, Les Dennis. We salute you.
Yeah, and if you want to see how introducing a love interest for a very established female character, George and Eileen, this is how to do it, because we were rooting for Gail and Michael, and I really don't care about if George fell over and died of a heart attack tomorrow. I don't think I'd be sad for Eileen at all.
I know.
Having a lucky escape.
I know. There's something not quite right there. I think there's still potential for me to like George and Eileen, and
we'll see if I'm rooting
all this
for them.
restorative justice
Crazy
stuff
kids.
at the beginning of Michael Rodwell, and he was just so. Because he was a victim of the recession and everything, and he was a bit pathetic, wasn't he? And God, I love him.
He was like a little shrew.
Yeah, he was.
Right.
Animal analogies complete.
We've done it all.
And that is our Michael Rodwell character profile. Thank you for listening, everyone. Goodbye.